Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Shaw Cable's Nelson Nightline. I'm Margaret Zaitlin, and I'll be your host tonight, again with my regular co-host Marianne. Once upon a time, not so very long ago, the words home worker or home-based business conjured up images of a harried piece worker or underachieving would-be entrepreneurs. Today, however, it is the image of upscale professional home office that prevails. Many Canadians are now either working in or thinking about setting up high-tech and not so high-tech havens in downtown, suburban, and rural homes. On tonight's Nelson Nightline, we will be interviewing a variety of home-based business people. In our studios, we have Bruce Lacroix and Kris Witt, both organizers of local home-based businesses and a local home-based business association themselves. We also have Rick Andriashek, a home-based manufacturer and distributor of etched glass products, and Mike Stephani, a woodworking craftsman. And later in the show, we will have Caroll Taiji, a design and graphics artist and copywriter, and Helen Suomi, who is involved in computerized telemarketing and accounting. We'd also like to hear from you, our viewers, about your experiences with home-based businesses. The phone lines will be open tonight. The phone call number is 354-4200. But before we start, I'd like to first introduce our first guest, Kris Witt and Bruce Lacroix, and my co-host Marianne Bond. Good evening.
Good evening, Morrie.
That was a long one tonight. Well, we'll start with you, Bruce. You're the president of the Homebased Business Association in the Kootenays here. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about how it started. What's the purpose of the association?
Well, it started about 8 months ago now, in September 1991, when Kris, myself, and a few other people got together to discuss the possibility of an association. The purpose of it is to help promote home-based businesses in the Kootenay region, to work closely with any government agencies, and there are many that come up, and also to improve the viability or viability of home-based businesses, and a chance to network, because a lot of people who work from their home are very isolated away from mainstream business.
I guess networking is also an important part of this, Kris.
It is very important. One of the things that happens to a home-based business is that they stay in their home. That's the function or the location where they do their work. And because that's also where they live, their contact with people outside of the home is very minimal. So they do become isolated and they do become lonely. When a person is working in a downtown environment, they're encountering other business people at coffee break, at lunchtime, and other times during the day when people just pop in to say hi.
It's sort of like for motivation and synergy, I guess.
Sure, and to find out what's happening in terms of new laws that are going down and new things that are happening in town. When you're at home, you don't have that same kind of contact. You're very focused. Mm-hmm. You're focused on your family and you're focused on your business. And the focus to the rest of the world becomes very hard to get a grasp on. And an organization like the Home Business Association gives people that outlet, that access.
The chance to meet with each other. You have meetings on a regular basis. How many people have come out to some of the meetings, Bruce?
A lot depends upon the nature of the meeting. The association is set up in such a way that there are 2 meetings a month, which works out to about one every 2 weeks. And the more there's meetings that we just have a general meeting where people can network with each other and talk about some issues that relate to each other. The more popular ones seem to be a workshop meeting, where we'll bring in an outsider or someone from the association with a specific skill, like Kris. We'll bring in some members or some people from outside, and we'll have a workshop where we invite the public and members of the association. It could be on taxation, it could be on bylaws, it could be on marketing, it could be on dealing with home life and a business. We'll sometimes then have 45 people coming out to something like that. The other meetings, people, the hardcore of the Home Business Association, there'll be 15 or 20 that'll come out to something like that on a regular basis. So it does depend upon the purpose of the meeting, but that's again one of the reasons, or one of the purposes of the association, is to help people become better business people. As Kris was, that's right. As Kris was alluding to, you're at home a lot of the time, and you don't have that networking. And when you're with other people who are in the same boat and you have similar problems, well, it's amazing what you can work out amongst each other, in a workshop.
Well, it doesn't matter what type of business, but we all have the same types of business problems, I guess,
right.
whether it's tax, as you say, or the loneliness of not having somebody to talk to about your business or other things. What types of members do you have in the organization right now, Kris?
Oh, we have some manufacturers, and we have some, I guess a person would call them aftermarket manufacturers. They take a product which is basically manufactured and they modify it, creating a brand new product which is marketed to a different audience or a different buyer. We have, what surprises me is we don't have anybody from a daycare, which everybody thinks is home business. You think daycare immediately comes into mind. We don't have anybody from a daycare, but we do have a member who writes professional software books for the software production companies. He's the man who writes the software Bible.
The manuals of how to operate a software program.
Karen Feeding Guide for XYZ software, right? So we have people involved in the computer industry, involved in design, artwork, things where a person is applying their brain and their creativity to create a solution to a problem. So things where you can focus your brain and your creativity become the important factor. Being a salesman, we have a couple of salesmen also in the organization. Salespeople are home-based, but working outside of the home to actually generate the sale.
A lot of contractors, people who would contract for someone else. Basically anything that you could do with some restrictions. Okay, but in most instances, anything you can do in a traditional, what people think is a traditional business, you can do from your home, given some restrictions. But it's not limited really in the way that a lot of people think home-based business is limited. You're stuffing envelopes or something. Well, that's not the scope of it. The scope of it is very, very wide.
Well, your own business, the base of operation is in your home, but you're out as a consultant doing seminars and conferences throughout the region.
Very few, actually, report of in a study that was just done about by Canadian government and home business owners and municipalities has actually found out that we as home business people don't spend a lot of time at home. It's about maybe a third of your time is spent at home. Other part of your time is spent on the road, and another part of your time is spent with clients. Now, of course, that will vary for each business, but as a home business owner, I don't sit at home all day. That's where my phone is, it's where my office is, but then I'm out on the road and I'm out meeting people as a consultant.
Home-based business is certainly the growth industry of the decade, and Kris, I know you've been working in your home for a number of years. You must have seen the growth recently in Nelson in terms of home-based business
I think growth is a very conservative word to use.
Explosion? Yes.
The word explosion comes to mind. There's a tremendous number of people who are deciding to work out of their own homes. People who have decided that either working in a downtown environment, maybe working for a boss, isn't what they want to do. They want to be self-employed. The capital cost of setting up an office downtown, renting the facilities, setting up phone lines, and the whole thing, the costs involved in setting up a business in a downtown environment can be very, very high.
And if you're working out of the home, you can write some of that off also.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So your original cost outlay is going to be the same, and probably it'll actually be less. And then your day-to-day living costs, because some of them become tax deductible, are actually less. You're paying them in before tax dollars instead of after tax dollars.
How has GST affected home-based businesses, or has it?
I think GST has affected home-based businesses about the same way that it's affected all of the other businesses. They're all finding it very costly, very confusing, and time-consuming, irritating.
And you're right at the core of it with your business in terms of the accounting.
Well, being an accountant, it's my job to make sure people understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. That's the hard one. Why they're doing it. To make sure that they are protecting themselves against a potential audit and the results of that audit. I spend a lot of time and energy on that, and I find it very, very frustrating because it doesn't help the business person make money. My job is to help the person make money and keep the money that they've made.
But what an asset you are to the association to have that expertise that you're feeding into it.
That's actually a vital component of the association, because we have such a mix of people, you know, who do come on a regular basis. We do a lot of work with each other. You know, Kris can help with things, I can help with things. Someone else who you'll be talking to later, you know, with 6 children, has a different perspective on it and can help with the things that they're doing. And we all seem to have different expertises that seem to come together. And that's a big reason for having the association, because there wasn't something that met the needs specifically of home business people. Because although we have a lot of the same concerns and worries and day-to-day things that a regular oh, here we go, a regular business, it is a regular business, that a traditional business has, we also have some concerns that are specific for people who work out of their home. I mean, how do you deal with a long-distance phone call when you have a 2.5-year-old child? I mean, that's not something you normally think about in a traditional business.
I'm glad you brought that up, both
I
the
thought you
child,
would.
really, yeah, in terms of how do you combine that when you're in a home? I know you've got a young daughter, Kris, you've got children as well. What are some of the
Trials and tribulations.
Well,
How do you deal with when the phone rings? It's your client. We have a phone call, I believe. We're just going to cut you short, Marianne. We have somebody on the line.
thank God.
Good evening, Nelson Nightline, you're on the air.
My name is Gerhard Achtner. I'm one of these home-based business people here just talking on your program about.
Wonderful.
I'm actually a contract draftsman, and I'm actually a member of the Homebased Business Association. So I know both Bruce and Kris as well. And I think they've done a very good thing, you know, to get that one going.
Have you had problems starting up your own business out of your home, or do you find it easier than working for somebody else?
Well, I've been working for somebody else for all my life, and I finally had enough of it for one reason or another. And I've been living in Vancouver most of the time, but I finally wanted to get away from, you know, that frantic traffic there. And, you know, the last 2 years I was there, I worked 9-hour days, and I had a 2-hour commute, so that was 11 hours out of my day. And I pretty well got home, and that was it. I was pretty well bushed. I could just sit down and then maybe have a meal. And then I fell into bed, more or less, and then the next day it went on again, you know. And I really love my work. It's not that problem, but I just thought it was a little bit too much.
And this has given you the opportunity to set your own hours and maybe a slower pace.
Yeah, definitely that. I found it a little bit hard sledding because, you know, because I'm in a business that's sort of a professional nature, and I'm dealing with other professionals and then with companies. Some of them, I don't think they fully appreciate, you know, that I'm just as qualified as anybody else, even if I don't have a front office on Baker Street or something like that.
So Gerhard, do you think that these people are having difficulty taking you seriously?
Yeah, they do, in some cases.
That's very
you know,
You need a storefront. Some people
yeah,
think
I
that.
think, you know, if I could say there, you know, Gerhard Achtner Drafting and put my title on it and all sorts of things, and I'm located on Baker Street, somebody walks in, I have a receptionist and, you know, a whole bunch of people on drafting boards, they say, oh, look at this guy, you know.
But then you'd have to charge more too, wouldn't you?
Of course, yeah.
Where are you doing most of your business right now, Gerhard? Right within the region or outside of it?
I do most of it in Nelson. This has actually been one of my objectives. I wanted, you know, I've come from Vancouver and I could network back to there, or I could network to Edmonton or Calgary, but I wanted to stay in a region. And so I've contacted quite a number of businesses in the region as far as the Okanagan Valley. And have had very little success, but luckily there's 2 companies in town which give me quite a lot of work, and you know, they seem to be quite happy with the service I provide to them.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for your comments.
Thanks, Gerhard.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I know. I think that probably is a problem with a lot of home-based businesses, feeling that they're not getting the same recognition, even though they're as qualified. They can have degrees in whatever their subject, if they're a draftsman or if they're a veterinarian or whatever, working out of the house, and they don't have that same feeling of that they're being noticed for that.
That is changing, though.
It is.
I just came from a conference in Vancouver, the first National Home-Based Business Conference, sponsored by the province of BC and Bank of Montreal and some other very large sponsors. And one thing that came out of the conference was the fact that home-based businesses are becoming much more respectable for a couple of reasons. And one reason is a lot of larger companies are downsizing, and they're starting to contract out a lot of their work. And the larger companies are realizing you don't need 500 bodies in a large office in a downtown area. You can have a much smaller space. Your people can be working from home and meeting together on a fairly infrequent basis.
Gerhard made a very good comment there, or a very something people should be aware of. He was talking about when he worked in the large city and he had this 2-hour commute. When you've driven through that kind of traffic to your work location, you arrive at work exhausted.
You're frazzled already.
It takes you 2 hours to recover, and then you become productive. And at the end of your day, you drive home and you're again exhausted. What is that doing to the family unit? To have you arrive home in that kind of condition.
I think municipalities and businesses are working together too to help that traffic congestion problem with all of the workers coming in to an urban center and then having to get out basically at the same times. Plus, they're alternating the hours of work to try and help with it, as well as putting them back in the
But
home.
having people working from their homes is a very valuable resource. I have a cousin who works for large companies on these contracts that Bruce was talking about, and what she does is international travelers, people who come to British Columbia to meet with businesses and to do business in BC, she acts as their private secretary. She does this on a contract basis, and she's operating from a home base. It's a very exciting thing to be doing.
Now, part of it, I guess, part that plays part in it is technology. You're able to work out of your home with your telephone system around the world is excellent. You have other equipment, modems for your computers.
Modems, fax machines,
Fax
computers,
machines,
they've opened up an incredible world.
That one journalist coined people moving in from the urban areas, like Gerhard, as Marpies. I think probably all have seen that. Middle-aged rural professionals moving in, bringing all that technology with them, and they're still hooked up.
Well, we're going to show
into
some
the
of
major
that
centers.
later on in some of our clips on the show, some of that equipment, fax machine, modem, things like that.
Quick point on that for you. I met a fellow at the conference who had his whole office in
In his
in his
briefcase.
briefcase.
Yeah.
It was the size of a briefcase. In there, he had a computer, he had a fax machine, he had a scanner, he had a printer. I mean, the printer was it was a laser printer. And this man moves around the world, and he says, "Well, home is wherever I happen to be able to plug into a wall." You know, and he's doing international work.
This article, or this book that was put out by Homebased Business, we were talking before the show about the acronyms or whatnot, these little coin phrases that are kind of offices, people that work in their home, cocooning, if you're staying at home working, the Marpies, and so on and so on.
A very valid point. And one of the things that Gerhard said about credibility, a lot of times people don't know you're based out of your home. They don't have to know.
Given your phone system and everything, if you have answering machines and everything.
I object strenuously to these little cute phrases they come up with. You know,
Like
I'm an
office?
accountant. I'm a professional. I have 2 employees. The fact that I'm operating from my home has nothing to do with the price of rice. Absolutely nothing.
Other than the price may be a little cheaper with your overhead.
My overhead is lower. Therefore, I'm able to offer a good service for a good price.
Do you think what Gerhard experiences, though, coming into a small community, it really is the networking, not just within the Homebased Business Association, but within the community to get known?
Very
To a
much so.
degree,
Where someone
it's
is
like
here.
being a woman in a man's profession, or being a black in a white person's world. And I might be, creating some problems using those kinds of phrases, but I think we all recognize that those kinds of prejudices have existed. Home-based business has to suffer through the same kind of prejudice. We don't just have to be good.
But
We have to be better than best.
But the fact that the federal and provincial government are doing studies and they seem to be recognizing...
And helping promote home-based businesses.
They seem to be recognizing it.
But it's very, very difficult as a home-based business to get a government grant.
It is.
A grant to hire an employee, a grant to train an employee, a grant to take training yourself is much more difficult. You have to prove that you're not a hobby. You're not Granny Smith sitting home knitting sweaters at night while she watches TV and calling it a business. You know, you have to prove that
how do
that's
you do
not
that?
what's happening.
I
How do
mean,
you do that? You
you're-
have to be better than best.
You market yourself very, very heavily in the community you're working in. You help form an association. You deal closely with the cities and the municipalities, and you help them with the bylaws. Basically, it's an educational process.
Was it genderless? Is it harder for women in home-based business as opposed to men, or is it just
I
equal
don't see that,
there?
but Kris may be better able to answer that than I.
I don't know if I would say that it's harder. It's different. I think that a man working at home, particularly if there's children living in the home, a man working at home might receive a certain amount of ridicule. What's that cartoon that the man is the house husband?
Oh, Adam.
Adam.
I identified very,
I
very
thought you
closely
might,
with
Bruce.
that.
I thought you might, yes.
But my customers don't have to know I'm home-based because I have a little portable phone and I can run into other parts of the house or outside and they won't hear the child.
So that's how you deal with the child.
No, that's once in a while. Actually,
I wish we had the whole hour to
Yes.
talk to you, and we're getting the cue that we have to go to our first break and change
Oh,
the
goodness.
guesser, so we'll have to get you both.
Thank you both for
back.
coming.
Well, thank you
Thank you
very
Very
much.
glad
much.
to be here.
It was fun.
We're going to break now and have our first clip. Coming up. Our first clip is with Caroll Taiji, I believe.
Facts in my immediate office setting, and when I'm meeting with clients, I usually do that outside of my office so that I can have the freedom to have projects spread out all over. The computer system is Mac. I've got a radius monitor, a 19-inch monitor, so that I can lay up brochures in their entirety on the screen and see basically my whole design intact. I don't know if you can pick that up, Michael, but it's a nice little perk to have. This is just a laser printer. It's 300 dots per inch, and I really just use it for client proofing and things like that. Most of the time what I do is send discs out to service bureaus in Vancouver to get the higher quality output. But I've got some neat programs. I'm using Quark Express most of the time, and I have Photoshop, which is really nice for manipulating photos and artwork and things like that. But and those are the two environments that I work mostly in.
Now, do you also work on a regular drafting board with regular pen and,
Yes, I
pen
do.
and ink?
Yeah, down in the deep dark bowels of the basement of the house, I have a light table and drafting board set up, and I less and less work on that, and more work on this equipment right here. I'm really I've had this equipment for less than a year, so I still have to get down and do all my illustrating work. Obviously is generated by hand because I'm just not proficient enough with programs like freehand, and I still prefer the results of hand-generated stuff. So.
Do you plan on getting us an easel that is attachable to this? They do have pen and
Yes,
easels that hook up to the computer.
And I'm looking at scanners and things like that too. That's the next thing on the list. So. But as you know, these things are bottomless pits, and you can add forever. But this has enabled me from my house in Nelson to do 2/3 of a project, control the quality and the design of that project right up until a stage where it gets outputted and assembled into film, or outputted directly into film, and a printer will print the brochure, whatever it is. And it's not only saves the client a huge amount of money, it allows me control right up to really an advanced stage of a project, right from this small little office.
You have clients elsewhere than Nelson?
Yeah, I still maintain ties with clients I had in Vancouver and quite a few on Vancouver Island. I do a little bit of work in Calgary. Most of it's in the region though.
Do you modem any of your material out?
Yes, I do, and probably use a fax more than anything though, which has been indispensable, particularly, I mean, the obvious advantage of a fax, other than the fact that I can transmit artwork and have it instantaneously there, I find it cheaper than the telephone because I can phone places like Toronto, and if I'm organized enough to do it late at night and I can fax them, it's 30-40 cents a fax for a couple of pages even, so I can sort of organize my information sending, do it at one time, and do it at a fraction of the cost that I could even mail it, let alone a telephone call for.
And
So,
if you made a phone call, you'd spend 5 or 10 minutes talking, and
yeah,
that would add up to
that's
the,
right,
on
yeah.
the cost
I
versus
never
saying.
seem to be able to kind of be really quick on my telephone calls, so the fax has been really important
Great.
item too.
Can you maybe pump out a piece of the artwork and show us how the laser writer works?
Sure. This is just a brochure I'm working on for hall printing. Basically what I can do with this particular program is have it print in a variety of formats, and I can have it print direct to film, so I can set the colors to anything I want. In a 4-color setting, what I can then do is put it on a disc or modem it and have the people that are printing it output it directly to the film that they'll be printing off of, which is still amazes me, and it sure is a wonderful design feature to be able to provide that for clients, because basically what they see off of this laser printer is the way everything will line up when it's printed. So it's been great.
How long have you been doing this? You've had this equipment for how long?
The equipment I've only had for a year, and previous to that I was hiring other people to do all the same work for me, and I've been doing the design business here in Nelson for 5 years now, so it's about time that I got this.
What other pieces of equipment do you use in your house here? You say you have a fax machine?
Yeah, I have a fax machine here with a grayscale, and it's sort of a higher resolution fax so that I can transmit copy, artwork and that type of thing, and what the clients see if they have a decent fax machine is fairly high quality. I can fax photographs and things like that. And when I'm dealing with photographers or photo banks and they don't, I'm looking at a variety of different things, they can send me something and I'll be able to make a decision as to whether I should pay for the courier and have it sent out via the fax. And I'll just show you the quality. This is this photograph here, which I was thinking of incorporating into an invoice, which I thought that would be quite funny. Isn't that hilarious?
And that's a fax reproduction?
No, this isn't, but I'll show you what the quality is like.
On the grayscale?
Yeah, on the grayscale. Anyway, this has been this was an investment I made 2 years ago, and I think it paid for itself, really quickly. It was just fantastic. And it's not just the ease and the convenience of not having to run out for your faxes. It really has saved, in terms of telephone bills and things like that. This isn't going to work out very well. Okay, it didn't work. Anyway, normally with something like this, what you would get through the fax is pretty close to what the photograph copy is, which has been nice to be able to do artwork. And then this is just what I'm printing off right here, and this is just the back panel of a brochure, and it's a 2-color brochure, and I set the machine to separate the 2 colors. This will be printed in green and this will be printed in black, and it automatically prints it out with the color separated, which obviously is a big savings in paste up and all the pre-press, which tends to be a real expensive part of the printing process. And as I write and design at the same time, now I can typeset and work up to camera ready artwork all in the same process, which again is a good cost savings for clients. I can't think of anything else I have that's of interest.
Just one telephone line?
One for the fax and one for the main line, and most of the time we have an answering machine, but I have an answering service pick up the phone, which has been wonderful too, because there are a lot of times with with a 2-man operation where we're both either engaged with a client or trying to do something on the computer, and if you have the ability to have a professional presence and have somebody's questions answered, then it's nice to be able to keep your time occupied with what you're supposed to be doing, getting your work done. So.
Great. I think that's
good.
Good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Nelson Nightline, Shock Cable's live bi-monthly talk show. I'm Morrie Zaitlin, and I'm here with my co-host Marianne Bon again tonight. We have 2 more guests on our show about the home-based businesses. We have Mike Stephani and sorry there, Rick Andriashek.
Yeah, you got it.
Sorry about that, Rick. Both of these gentlemen are involved in home-based businesses out of their home. Mike does woodworking, selling to different stores across the area. He'll tell us about that. And Rick does etched glass as well as distributing other people's products. Maybe we'll start with you, Mike. How did you get started in this business? What were you doing before, and how did you get into doing this?
Well, my background is a teacher, but Because of degenerate spine and arthritis, I'm disabled, and my woodwork is therapy as well as a business. So correct, I do mostly custom work for small benches, tables, etc., plus the scroll saw work.
And you were doing this as a hobby before when you were teaching, I guess?
Yes, it's been an interest, lifelong interest.
And when did you start creating a business out of it?
About 2 years ago.
Been going for 2 years. And
Yes.
you sell in town, Nelson, and outside of Nelson?
Yes, throughout the Kootenays pretty
Sure.
well.
How do you go and sell? Do you buying chips or?
Well, craft fairs, and then word of mouth from people that have bought from me will recommend me to someone else, and away we go. So it's my expertise, I suppose, is the scroll saw, which is fairly light duty work and most interesting too, as you can see with the various little
Don't know if our cameras they can pick that up. That's just neat.
the small things. For example, I have some 300 different animals and cutouts, and I suppose between 500 and 600 different items that I do make.
Your wife is a home-based business.
Yes,
daycare
we have a
operator.
daycare as well.
Oh, okay.
So the animals must come in handy.
So that, yes, the house is full. Yes.
Have you found it difficult to work out of the house after being a teacher for this many years now?
No, I've had a shop for years, and I've been building it up for years too. So I have a very good selection of tools.
So you haven't had a high startup cost. Rick,
Not initially,
how about
no.
yourself? How long have you been creating etched glass?
Etched glass, well, I guess it started back before I left Calgary, so it's got to be 15 years now that I've been working with glass. Started out in the van craze of the 60s, I guess, is actually where I started doing it, was all car windows, things like that.
Yes.
And got a real interest in it. I was doing airbrush work as well at the time, but fell more into the line of the etched glass. It was real challenging working with negative space and that type of thing. So
Negative space being you're not creating new color on that, you're trying to show
it's trying to show image and shape and things like that without using the use of shading. Basically, it's all one color, so it is challenging.
Was it home-based business in Calgary as well?
No, it wasn't. Kind of worked it as a hobby until last year, and then my wife, who's an artist as well, she does sketching, and we got together on the idea of sort of shrinking what we were doing. We were doing it on larger pieces. I was doing mirrors and such, and there just wasn't a real good market for it. So we researched a little bit and decided that glasses and smaller items was the way to go. And we formed Innovations Unique last year, so we've been going just over a year now.
Wonderful. And where do you sell your products? I'm sorry.
That was my question.
I'm stoned. Where do you sell your products?
Well,
Sorry.
we strictly wholesale, so we're selling basically through the gift shows, and we go out on the road and sell ourselves. We're in Alberta, northern BC, and moving down in through the western coast of the United States right now with our stuff.
What percentage of your time do you feel you're on the road, going to those trade shows and whatnot?
Oh gosh. Well, actually, probably a month of the year we spend on the road.
And the rest you spend filling your orders.
That's
hopefully.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's hopefully the way it's supposed to work out. This has been a bit of a slow year. Last fall was real good to us. We did real well. This spring, I think all the retailers are really feeling the pinch of the recession and everything. The buying just wasn't there with anybody. You know, it wasn't just our product, but everybody's product has been suffering a little bit.
Morrie mentioned you market other people's product as well?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we've got 2 or 3 different artists that we're working with right now. While we're out on the road selling our stuff, we may as well be selling somebody else's
Can you
as well.
mention who they are?
Jim Hughes does a line of soapstone with a similar type of etching design on it. Bob Blenderman, who did the nice t-shirt that I'm wearing.
That's wonderful.
He does pen and inks, actually, wildlife pen and inks, and we've been dealing with him. They're our main 2 artists right now. We have a couple of others that are just starting to work with us. So.
Problems being a home-based business, aside from breaking glass, I guess. Have you found it difficult to work out of your home, getting up in the morning and starting work instead of having to punch a clock somewhere?
Not really. It's when the phone rings first thing in the morning and you've got an order in, you get down and you do it. As simple as that. There's, you've got to eat, so.
Were you in a traditional job? I guess traditional job before?
Oh gosh, yeah. Actually, before I left Calgary, I was working for the city of Calgary for a number of years as a foreman for them. And never ever figured that I'd be doing the etched glass part of it as a job, actually. You know, then it was all basically a hobby and something I did in my spare time for beer money on the side. But it's all developed well, and really enjoying what I'm doing. It's great.
And you're both members of the Kootenay Homebased Business Association?
No,
as well?
I'm not.
No?
As yet, no.
You are?
I
Rick?
am, yeah.
Do you find that a helpful networking tool?
Oh yeah, you bet.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, my wife and I both do this as well. So she's a team on the on shooting the glass and the whole thing too, and so she's
both,
a great
both
help.
of you working with your wives out of your home, that can cause another series of problems perhaps. Do you have conflicts because you're so close to each other so much of the day? Perhaps you
No,
first?
not really, no.
Yeah. How about yourself?
We haven't yelled at each other yet, so we're doing pretty good.
Because that's one of the myths. I don't know if we've just dispelled it or not. You know, certainly working close, when I hear of people working together, I hear their friends moaning and saying that's not a good idea. But you're both telling people that it's fine, I guess.
Oh, very successful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is marketing a real need? And I know in terms of getting your product out and whatnot, what...
Yes, exposure. There's a small group of it. There's 6 of us who have our own small little marketing group. And that's helped.
So one of
Because
you
we're
will
just
take all
moving.
of the product the same as Rick does, so you're not all 6 traveling to the shows. One is there representing
this is
other
what
people?
we're doing. We're more or less just starting on it. But
That makes good
that's some of
sense,
the
doesn't it?
ideas.
It's cost effective for everybody.
Because we have, in our own group, we have the spectrum from woodwork to stained glass, banks. So we have a number of different products that we can market.
Well, again, the networking, whether it's the Homebased Business Association or other counterparts of yours, does play that role for you, because when you're out there, you can't do it all yourself, and it's nice to have some feedback from other people.
Just about necessary.
Yeah.
Rick, you said your product's in White Buffalo here in town. Do you have yours at any of the stores here locally, Mike?
No.
But you
I
mentioned
will
there's a new
have.
store coming up that's going to be displaying Kootenay product. Is that
Yes.
right?
It's going to be a consignment store. And there will be, I think, on the country line of products. So
Wonderful.
So both of you, I guess the other end from high tech to low tech, although you do require sophisticated cutting saws and tools, and I guess what sort of equipment do you use to cut glass?
It's actually all sandblasted, so it is blasted right into the glass, which is an advantage of it. It's dishwasher safe and everything that way. You don't get the designs washing off after 3 uses.
And is it just glasses now? You've gotten away from, you said, the bigger items, or do you still do?
I was doing larger mirrors and such, but I have quit doing that. We're moving into different lines as far as glasses go. We're working with some recycled glass items, liquor bottles and things like that. We're making some hummingbird feeders, which are kind of a novel little approach.
oh, don't let my wife hear that.
Why not?
Hummingbirds all over the place. Feeders, pictures, plates.
That's great. Well, we wish you both luck. I know it's not an easy road to travel running your own businesses, but you seem to be enjoying it. And I think that's part of the advantage and part of what people want to do when they get into their own small home business, that they can be their own boss, set their own hours, which are probably longer hours, I would imagine, in some instances.
Yes.
Very
And
much so.
shorter in others. I mean,
And
you're in
shorter than
command of your
others
own
when you
time.
feel like it. Yes.
But
We're
you
going to
can
cut
shut down.
down.
You can shut
before
down
we
when
cut
you
down,
want
we got
to,
another
too.
phone call on here. I'll take the line again.
Good evening, Nelson Nightline. You're on the air. Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Yes, you're on the air.
Oh, hi. My name is Beata. I'm a home-based business as well.
Hello,
And
Beerta.
hi. I just want to say I'm disappointed that not more people have phoned in. But I think it's really important that you are showing what home-based business can do and what we're capable of. I have one at home together with my husband, And as these two people who were on a few minutes ago were saying, we haven't had many major arguments either yet.
And what do you do in the home, Bertie?
I do office services, and I'm also a weaver and fabric designer. I've just started doing embroidery kits of Nelson heritage buildings, and they're selling. It's taking a while to get known in Nelson because I'm a relative newcomer. But
where did you move from?
From Vancouver as well. And I really love it here, and we hope we can make a go of it and not have to go out there and work for other people again.
Good luck. Good luck. Well, we weren't expecting a lot of calls in tonight. It's more to give people the opportunity to hear that there are home-based businesses out there. We appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bertie.
We're going to cut right now to our second break, I think. I'd like to again thank both you gentlemen for appearing.
Thank you
Good luck
both.
on your businesses, and hope to see you succeed.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next guest is Margaret Zaitlin with Total Training Center Limited. She runs a home-based business out of her home in Nelson. Hi, Margaret. Maybe you can tell us how you started to run a home-based business here in Nelson.
Well, we moved up to Nelson from Vancouver 2 years ago this May, and I wasn't 100% sure that I could run it from Nelson, having been, very exposed on the Lower Mainland. Everyone knew me, and I had instant access to telephone service, and I could deliver things quite simply. But what we quickly realized is that with the new technology of the 90s is that we now have fax machines that can deliver instantaneous communication, which has been a real value. We have a 1-800 line that we installed last September. We have a correspondence program that we supply right across the province along with our leadership courses. And we found that we had a fantastic response to the 1-800 line, which BC Tel has now made extremely reasonable for small-based businesses. So that's been quite a thrill. And just actually just a couple of weeks ago, we've just had the 1-800 line be moved from just across British Columbia to right across Canada as a whole, and we're finding that people are calling in, and it doesn't seem to make any difference to them as long as we can provide them with quick service and delivery of our products. That's what's most important, and that there's somebody on the other end of the line when they phone in. We run a fitness education leadership company, and I have 9 trainers that work on a part-time consulting basis for me. So we deliver fitness leadership certification courses to parks and recreation centers and private fitness clubs across the province. So what will happen is that a center will call us and will require a course, which they can easily do through our 1-800 line, or they can fax us that information. I then pick up the phone and call one of our trainers who can live in the Lower Mainland. I have trainers that live in Cranbrook as well as Kamloops, and offer them the opportunity to teach that course. We set the course up. We have our manuals are printed in Vancouver. We've stayed with the same printing house that we've had for the last 10 years in business. And so I order up my manuals through the fax machine or via the telephone. And then the printing company receives the information. They package the manuals and they send it out by the other service that has made our company viable in a small community, the Greyhound or Purolator, or whomever one would choose to use. Those are our 2 clients, I guess, that we draw on. The Purolator is an overnight delivery, and Greyhound is overnight, and both services are absolutely outstanding and have made it possible for us to deliver with good service, with quick and convenient service across the province.
What else do you use your computer system for?
So well, we actually have 2 computers in place right now. And we are capable of doing publishing on the computer. We have a laser writer that you can see here, which when I press the print button off the computer, it prints out on the laser printer a very quality print, as opposed to just a typewritten print. It comes out beautifully. We also we're quickly becoming, and have really are a publishing house, and so that we produce this manual off our computer, and hired an illustrator to draw the drawings, And just this fall, we bought an additional piece of equipment, which we're quite excited about, off the computer, which is called a scanner, so that we're capable of taking an illustration or a picture or printed word, put it on the scanner like a photocopier. The scanner photocopies it, per se, using those words, onto the computer, and then we can work with it off of here. So everything, as you can see, is in a very small, condensed amount of space, and yet we are doing provincial work very conveniently. In fact, my company has grown from teaching 10 courses a semester to over 30 courses right across the province, and we're starting to put dots all over the map as to where we are in fact servicing. Last semester we were in Cranbrook, we've been in Creston, we were in Quesnel, we were in Castlegar, we were in Penticton, we are with Fitness World and Douglas College on the Lower Mainland, and we deliver courses to places like Quesnel and Mackenzie, where we just were this last semester. So all in all, it's very exciting. Rather than the company decreasing in size, it's exploded in size, and I can only thank all the current technology of our time that's allowed us to live in heaven and work provincially. And within the next 2 years, we will be at an international level, and feel already confident that we can do it out of wonderful Nelson. Thank you.
Welcome back to Nelson Nightline. Our show tonight is on home-based businesses. With us right now we have two more guests. We have Caroll Taiji and we have Helen Suomi. They are two home businesses. Helen is involved in telemarketing, accounting, and Caroll is a graphics artist, designer, computer typesetter, etc. Welcome to our show, ladies.
Thank you.
Want to start off?
Sure. I just thought maybe they saw you, Caroll, on the clip, hopefully, if they've gone. So maybe we'll start with you, Helen, just to describe a little bit more about your home-based business.
Well, I do a number of things. I worked in Vancouver for about 15 years, then we moved out here and I had to find something to do. So just to get to know the community, I worked at the Chamber of Commerce for a few months and I got to know people. And then I went out on my own and I started doing accounting for small businesses, and then an opportunity came to buy a service bureau from another person who was selling it. Mm-hmm. And what I do in that is I provide a medical billing service for doctors. The doctors in the province have to bill to Victoria via computer, and there's a lot of doctors and massage therapists who don't have their own computer, so I provide that service mm-hmm. for them. And that probably takes about half of my time, and then I also do contract work where I do training for people with who go out and buy computers and don't know how to use them and have different kinds of software and stuff. So I do in-house stuff where I go into their business.
And plus the telemarketing end.
Well, the telemarketing thing is just something that we're just starting. We bought a voicemail system about a year ago, and it took several months to get the right kind of phone lines with
mm-hmm.
BCTEL and all the little bugs worked out of it. And the application that I'm now working on, I'm actually working with Caroll Taiji and with Mike Stephani, mm-hmm. and they're putting out a brochure, which I guess Caroll is going to be talking about. And what we're doing in that is there's going to be a little a phone number that you can call with a little mailbox number, like 4-digit number, and you'd be able to dial the number and you'd get information in Japanese, so that the brochure will be aimed at the CIC students and,
we're trying to get
other
that
visitors in the area.
Queued up online, hopefully, to actually hear the recording and how it does work.
Yeah.
And all of this without even really marketing yourself. I mean,
That's
it's just
right.
the business has exploded in its own right. And she's led into what you've got there in front of you, Caroll, in terms of the project you're working on with Mike Stephani.
What we're working on are a series of brochures designed to provide very tight information to people who are already in the region. Most of the emphasis that I've previously worked on has been to bring people into the area. This is an information system that fits into people's pockets, and the idea is they would these will be set up at various points where tourists are likely to go, and they'll be able to see exactly the information they want, whether it's something about real estate or hotels, motels, bed and breakfast, dining out in Nelson, those kinds of things. And there'll be things about activities for kids, and very useful.
Out there.
And it's all pocket sized to fit in your pocket.
Right.
And again, all of this is done within your home.
Mm-hmm. And again, to reiterate what's been said many times before, technology today allows very professional, sophisticated projects to take place completely within the scope of the home. Most of the design work that I do right now, since I'm computerized,
Previously, say even 2 years ago, before I had the computer system that I have right now, I would say that in the scope of a project, I would carry a project maybe 40% down the road, and then I would have to begin to subcontract that out, which obviously meant that more of the money was going out of the area because most of the services I required were in urban centers. And it also meant that my clients, who are mostly local people, paid a little bit more because with subcontracting you pay city rates and all that kind of thing. And now with the computer system that I have, I'm able to take the job right up to a very, very final stage. So it's quite incredible. And just to sort of touch on what Bruce has already mentioned, really, I don't feel that there's any lack of credibility for home-based businesses. I feel that it is riding on a huge wave of lifestyle orientation. So it is very legitimate and very professional.
You say 25% of businesses are home-based right now. Yeah.
And growing.
And growing, exploding.
Like as Kris said,
Exploding.
yeah. Do either one of you employ additional people?
On a casual and contract basis, I
Okay,
do.
we're going to cut to the telemarketing. No?
Yes, right, just wrong button. Now.
Now, yes.
Go.
No? Okay,
Oh,
we'll wait
try
for a
again.
couple.
Sorry.
Technology.
Do any of you employ, either one of you employ additional
Go for
people?
it, sorry.
Sorry, here we go.
Hello?
Did you dial the right number?
I think we dial the wrong number.
Okay, we'll try that again in a minute. Well, let's go offline. Okay. Do either one of you employ any additional people?
This is
Yes, I do.
Yes. And how many?
Just one. I with the MSP billing service, I have deadlines every 2 weeks, and then there's a lot of billings that come in the last couple of days, so I employ someone a day or two a week
So you've
during that period.
not created a job for yourself, but for somebody else. Both being women, that's what I wanted to get into in terms of combining a home-based business with a young family. How difficult is that in terms of meeting deadlines and all of the complications that come within home life?
Well, there's pros and cons to it. When I worked in Vancouver for so many years, my kids were in daycares and out to relatives, and we had live-in nannies, and I think we tried all the different combinations there were. So having being at home myself, it's better that way because I can usually arrange my schedule so I'm home at 3 o'clock. But when you do get the long distance call at 4:30 and the kids are wanting supper and that kind of stuff, it gets a little crazy. I find that I find myself working in the number, please.
What's your phone number, Helen?
825-9294.
Thank you.
Good time.
We'll try again.
I lost my track here.
I did.
We're talking
Working in the home and
Working in
traffic
the home, yeah.
regulations.
I find that when I get really busy, then I have to work. I work when the kids go to bed, so I work 9 o'clock at night and that kind of thing. Yeah.
日本語のインフォメーションシステムでございます。カードから会社を選んでその番号を押してください。
Is that the end of that?
That's the end of, basically that's saying this is the Nelson Information Center. Please enter the 4-digit code now.
And this is geared towards the CIC students
That's
so they
right.
can find out information about Nelson. I think that's a
Right.
fabulous idea.
Yeah.
And the long-term plan is to incorporate other languages into the system so that as the volume of tourists reflects, more of an international flavor, which it is doing, that we'll be able to still provide effective information. It's a wonderful opportunity for local businesses to really kind of have themselves positioned exactly where they should be. But moreover, it's an invaluable thing, I think, for tourists coming into the area, because how often do you come in and you need a windshield wiper blade? Well, you don't want to spend your whole day shopping around for that one item, or you need to get to a hospital or whatever. I mean, this is
Or
quick information.
where to eat out late.
Where to eat out late in Nelson, right.
I wanted to ask you too, Caroll, about combining your business within your home.
Well, I would
and
sort
with your
of
children.
agree with what Helen said. There are pros and cons to it. One of the things that we have a lot of children in our family. We have a lot of different ages, and basically the success of what my husband and I are doing right now is very reliant on each other working together well in the family concept and also our context, and also we have occasional help with the children during the day, and they have been, you know, the people who take care of the kids have been integral too. But our whole philosophy in working at home is that while the children are young, we want to be at home and we want to have them interacting and seeing what mom and dad do for a living and getting a little insight into us as people. So there are some moments where things might just seem a little rough around the edges, and of course there's a classic mealtime scenario. And a lot of the clients that I deal with, or a lot of the suppliers, printers are notorious for phoning at supper time because that's when they're finished their calls and that kind of thing. So there are a lot of those uncomfortable scenarios, but what I've found is that I'm very open about my situation. I don't try to pretend that I'm anything that I'm not. I mean, I am a graphic designer, but I'm also a mom, and I make that very clear. And I found that people, if you're open and honest about that, people are very intrigued by your situation, and they're also very sympathetic. And you have to work doubly hard to maintain your professionalism and make sure that things are delivered when they should and in the shape they should, and I think that compensates for your home situation. But I think there's a fascination and a respect for that.
Caring for 6 children, sometimes that's no easy feat.
Well, sometimes the business is easier.
The home base too, I mean, you both are not just located within the home, as Bruce pointed out. I know, Helen, you're outside of the home, probably even more than you're within the home, although your base of operation is there. And I would imagine for you too, Caroll, going out and meeting with clients. And
yeah, although Wayne does a lot of the liaison work, and he does a lot of the promotion and that kind of thing, which has taken a tremendous load off and allowed me to just sort of, one of the pitfalls of a home-based business person is that usually there is one or a small group working together, and really the facets of a business require that you're an accountant, an advertiser, and whatever the core of your business is, and all these different hats that you have to wear. And let's face it, none of us are, if you're an extremely creative person, quite often, you know, this is where Kris has been invaluable to the whole community because she really has a specialty in home-based businesses. But anyway, the point being that you really have to sort of sub off a lot of the things. I have inter-office answer my phones because quite often I need to be working and I need to be focusing on getting the projects out, yet, you know, I want to have somebody who can provide it.
But it's also great, the mixes that are coming with home-based businesses beginning to work together, as you two are, and Mike Overall as well, the 3 of you all together working on a project.
Well, this town is wonderful for that. There's a lot of networking.
Okay, well, we just have about a minute to go. I'd like to...
Never enough time.
Never enough time. I'd like to thank both of you. I think home-based businesses are exploding. They are the wave of the future. There's so many of us looking for lifestyle as well as earning a living. Our next show is our last show, Marianne.
For this
season. We'll be taking off after... I think it's June 17th is tentatively scheduled, our last show of the season, and after that we're all off on summer vacation, summer break. You're going to be doing a month's traveling, I think?
No, not traveling, just a few weeks to go and hide out.
Take away from your hectic life.
Yes.
And you ladies, I hope you have a good summer as well. I hope it's very productive work-wise, family life as well. We'll see the rest of our audience June 17th, I'm pretty sure is the date, and after that we'll see you at the end of the summer and see you on the streets. Welcome to Nelson Nightline.
Again, thank you guys. I had wanted you to...